Now, ahead of the football season kicking off this weekend, new research has revealed how football clubs are failing wheelchair users. All but 3 of the 20 Premier League clubs aren't meeting stadium disability guidelines, including many London clubs. They include title holders Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur and Premier League new boys Watford. Well, what should they be doing to help fans with disabilities? Here to hopefully answer that question is Chris Simmonds from disability charity Revitalise, and you guys were behind this research, and it's not only is it quite shocking that this is still an issue in the 21st century, but it's really shocking that some of these big clubs are the big offenders here.
Yeah, and that was what surprised us. We did this survey because as a charity operating holidays for disabled people and carers, we often go to stadium tours, take the few guests that we can get tickets for to matches. So we did this study to look at who was complying with the UEFA Guidelines that were agreed with the FA and the Premiership, but also adding into that, looking at toilet facilities, looking at whether the information was on the website, and we're looking at whether the staff who work at the grounds, the stewards and the staff, were trained in awareness of disabled needs. And we were quite shocked in that only 3 of the Premiership teams actually comply with those guidelines after 10 years of being in place.
So what are the guidelines? What should they have in place?
There's a ratio of how many disabled seats you should have for wheelchairs in relation to the capacity of the crowd. So when we look at the ones at the top, the ones that did comply, that managed to comply, Arsenal, Swansea, both in new stadiums, but new entrants, Bournemouth, who are in a fairly old stadium, are going beyond what's required. And I think that shows that they really value all of their supporters, not just the ones that are able to fit into the smallest space.
So was anything else on the other side of the guidelines? So you said one of the things they need to make sure they had enough seats. Anything else?
Well, in terms of the UEFA guidelines, it is about numbers of wheelchair spaces within grounds. We went to that extra dimension of looking at were the staff trained, was the information on the website, looking at the toilets, looking at the car parking spaces if they had them, how many of those were disabled. We also looked at whether they actually had change-in-place facilities, and only 2 clubs in the Premiership have a place in the disabled toilet facilities where people can get changed. And we thought that was quite shocking. This is the most successful football league in the world. 3 of the clubs are in the top 10 richest clubs in the world, Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester United, and they're at the bottom. They're close to the bottom of this table. I mean, it's really quite shocking.
So what should they be doing? What is the issue? Is it because they're largely old stadiums and they've just never facilitated for wheelchair users, or is there more they could be doing? That's just an excuse?
I think it's a bit of an excuse because these stadiums don't look anything like they did a few decades ago. They have spent lots and lots of money upgrading these stadiums. They've put in corporate boxes. They've spent lots of money. It's obviously easier and a legal requirement for the new stadiums to be good, but take for example Tottenham. They're at the bottom of the table at the moment, but they have made a statement that they are going to be really improving their ground, and we really value that. But if you take the London clubs you mentioned, where they're really letting themselves down in our league, as well as the number of spaces, is that they haven't trained their staff on disability awareness, and they're not giving any information on their website, or very little information, and that really, they can tick that box tomorrow if they wanted to.
All right, well look, Chris Simmonds, thank you so much. Very interesting actually. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.